Welcome back, everyone, to Issues of Faith. We are talking about gentrification and its impact on churches. Happy to have with us Reverend Harmon Stockdale Jr., minister at Kayne Avenue Missionary Baptist Church in 12 South, an area where there's been a lot of gentrification. You said about 150 members, a church that's 150 years old?
150 years old.
150 years old. So 12 South, primarily black area. Now it's definitely changing.
Right.
How many black churches were there at its peak? How many black churches are in that area now?
Yeah, at its peak, there were as many as 20 African American churches. Now, I can count on one hand. There are about 5 of us left.
And what does that mean then? What does that mean for you going forward?
Yeah, well, that means that there is increased opportunity, right? Because we are all going after the same parishioners, so increased opportunity. But then there's also a need to partner with churches that are like-minded within the community. And
is there competition, or is it we're all in this together? Or is it we need to get so-and-so and so-and-so over here? I mean, is there competition, or is it we partner and we're all in this together?
Yeah, so churches traditionally form around the identity of the minister. So the more outspoken the minister is, the more flamboyant the minister is, that minister gets more likes on social media, is more popular, so people want to go where the popularity is, right? However, there is, and historically has been, an air of competition between black churches because, you know, we have this better over here, we're doing it better over there, and there's been this unconscious need of putting churches against churches. And the direction that we're going in this post-pandemic era is those walls need to be broken down. Those walls need to be torn down because, again, we have the same message, and we need to promote the message and not the man who's delivering the message.
And do you think we're doing that? Will the pandemic and will gentrification force that to happen, or we're maybe not quite there yet?
Yeah, we're not quite there yet. We're going to have to be more intentional about how we approach ministry. Right now, everybody is trying to get in the groove of church post-COVID. What does it look like? You know, I have this tunnel vision. I'm only focused on my ministry and what we need, and we have to, you know, retool that, reshape that, reform that, and say, okay, we can't be so focused on the 4 walls of my church, me, mine, and ours, that we forget about the entire community.
Take us back to the beginning of Kayne Avenue. So 150 years ago, you said what it was there for. How has its mission changed? Obviously, it's reaching different people. You said it was there to serve people who had come out of slavery initially. But how is its mission changing, and where would you like to see it change, you know, in the next 10 years or so?
Yeah. So we are having a focus on equipping people for the work of ministry. So what does that look like? That looks like, you know, getting people involved to live out the calling that is on their life. Many people say, you know, if you're called, the only thing that you can do is preach. Well, no, that's not the only calling that is there. There's a calling to love, to serve. There's a calling, ministry of presence, just having an open ear. So what we're doing now, what our focus is on now, is equipping our church body to do and have an impact in the South Nashville area.
And you said, okay, so at the height about 20 African American and black churches, now maybe around 5. Are we seeing, what about primarily white churches? I mean, are there 10, 5, you know, are we seeing some more of those, or are people, they're just fewer churches, period?
Yeah.
What about that?
Well, we're definitely seeing more white churches move into the area, and that's a good thing, right? Because, the white population in South Nashville area is exploding. But then I go back to, something, the most segregated time in America is at church on Sunday. And, it shouldn't be about a white church and a black church. It should be about the Lord's church and how we can worship together. But we have to be honest. There are some folks who just don't feel comfortable, worshiping with folks from other minority groups, other ethnic groups, other races. And, we have an opportunity to discover how we get over that and how we move past that.
So this could be an opportunity.
Yes.
It could be an opportunity, yeah. When you say partnerships, it could be partner with a white church.
Exactly.
And you kind of become more comfortable.
Right.
And maybe break down some of those barriers. And is that happening? Are you thinking of, have you started that, or are you thinking about that? I mean, what about that kind of thing?
Yeah, so not to kind of air my dirty laundry, but yes, we've had conversations with predominantly white congregation. What I'm finding is I have some more teaching to do with my congregation because some are not as open as they should. There is some post-traumatic stress that has been carried over from our past into our present, that we need to do some work. Some more healing needs to take place before that can truly happen. However, I am excited about this. We have partnered with Belmont University, and we now have their college students coming in once a month. And we just had the Pitchmen perform last fourth Sunday. If you don't know about the Pitchmen, please go look them up. These men from Belmont can sing, okay? And they're a traditional a cappella group, but they're predominantly white. So, having them come in and then having the Belmont students come in, not only white, not only black, we've had Asian come in, we've had Hispanic come in. And this is something brand new to Kayne Avenue, and the church is loving it.
That's great.
Yes.
And I think that's really honest and not all that unusual that there would be some resistance.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about somebody who's 80 years old.
Right, exactly.
Talk about, if you can, you're not 80,
Yeah.
but you've talked to them. The world they grew up in was very different.
Very different.
And maybe they have reason to really have some, talk about maybe what you're hearing from some of the older members, or the world that was there 80 years ago in the 12 South area.
Right. So I'll share a story with you. I have a church member that is still living through what was experienced during the Jim Crow era. And when I say what was experienced, they can recount being chased by white males saying, I'm going to shoot you or I'm going to kill you, and having to hide under a house just to get away from them so that they would not be. And I have members who participated in the sit-ins downtown, who had, cigarette butt burns in their arms, who were spit on, who were slapped, who were, all in that nonviolent, peaceful protest. And those are members of my church. So telling them, okay, now, we have to do this without explaining why or helping them to go through the process of healing would be insensitive on my part. So it's something that we're still working through.
And we have a couple minutes left here. So how optimistic are you that 10 years from now, 5 years from now, we can move forward, or not? That's heavy. What you just said is heavy, and it also it makes sense. It's not like it's out of nowhere. And so how do we move forward from that?
Yeah, I think the voices of my generation, I'm in the millennial generation, and I'm predominantly speaking about those who are from the baby boomer generation. My generation, we have a mandate to make sure that the advice, that we are giving to the older generation is not only advice from, just talking the talk, but we have to mirror out that talk. We have to be examples, because what I'm finding out is a lot of the older generation is now looking to the younger generation for advice. Whether that be insurance, whether that be money management, whether that be, the healthcare, so forth and so on. And we have an opportunity not just in those secular spheres, but also within the church.
Wow. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. A fascinating conversation, and there's a lot there. Reverend Harmon Stockdale, minister at Kayne Avenue Missionary Baptist Church. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's a great conversation. Thanks to all of you for watching Issues of Faith. Have a great day, everybody.